Opium War weakened China's defenses and economy, and left China weak. The British used this to their advantage and used this chance to take over Hong Kong. Victoria Harbour was a harbour that was valuable at its time and still is today. This harbour provided a shelter for boats. This harbour was quite big, so large trading boats could come and unlock their stocks here. This turned the harbour to a fishing and trading village. Nowadays, Hong Kong is still partially relying on the trade to be one of its income ways. Battleships were now greatly improved on both sides, and so new cannons and ammunition were needed. Presented the idea of rifling, which were basically carving lines into the barrel gun, making projectiles spin more, giving it more stability, accuracy, and destructive power. With revolutionary gunpowder and rifling, cannons were greatly improved in both accuracy and efficiency. The new cannon could be reloaded much quicker because most cannons could load shells from the breech. This made the reloading process much quicker.
The British 12-pounder smooth bore muzzle loading gun was made in the 1840s. The British 6-pounder smooth bore muzzle loading gun was made in the 1830s. The British 6-pounder smooth bore muzzle loading gun. This was the 1830s gun.
This is a British 6-pounder. Guns at this time were manufactured by Daily Peg Company for the armed merchantmen of British East India Company Fleet. This was on the construction site of Winglock Street, Central in March 1984. Okay, I'll show you another one. Here's this British 9-pounder muzzle loading gun, 1830.
We are going.
This is a naval gun cast by Bailey Peg.
Ready. Back to the bus when you finish.
Oh, that's the same thing. Okay.
Alright.
This was the disappearing gun. The gun was considered to be one of the most powerful and deadliest gun of its time. When the gun was shot, the recoil of the gun would force it backwards, and a mechanism was developed to use this recoil to hide the gun while it was being reloaded. This would keep the gun hidden from the enemy and also confuse them, causing chaos on the battlefield. This is where one of the battery guns used to be stationed. The areas around them would contain ammunition for the gun to fire.
These guns were used to defend against enemy aircraft.
The Brennan torpedo, invented by Louis Brennan in 1876, was used in an extremely innovative way, using string to direct the torpedo to its target. In this time, this was one of the most deadliest torpedoes of its time. At one point, this torpedo is even considered as one of the deadliest weapons the British colony had in its arsenal. These rooms were storing the Brennan torpedo as seen over there. This Brennan torpedo, they were stored in these two rooms.
The torpedoes were launched here.
They would be stored in there and they would be launched over here. They would launch the torpedoes down, it would get into the water. These Brennan torpedoes could be either launched right here on the coast or they could be transported onto a battleship and used there.
These are lookout bases to find ships and they can shoot them down with the guns inside them.
On the ground, we used to help support the 6mm gun stationed here. These would be used to defend against the destroyers, carrying torpedoes to destroy battleships.
This is the view of where a 6mm gun used to sit on.
The shore for the 6mm gun station on the lookouts. In 1941, the Japanese took over. This was considered to be one of Hong Kong's darkest times. Because of this, many people hated the Japanese, especially the Hong Kong people, because the Japanese people would generally discriminate against the Chinese. For some Chinese people, they still hold this grudge until today. To this day, there are still conflicts between the Chinese and the Japanese.
Tunnels like these were dug during the Japanese occupation to secretly defend the people of Hong Kong, and at the same time attack the Japanese as well, performing small-scale counterattacks.
Consequences of the British occupation of Hong Kong. Things that changed after the handover. All clubs and societies took royal off the name because they were no longer property of Great Britain. The picture of the Queen was removed from stamps and bills, and also coins. The Queen's Council was now named to Senior Council, or the Legislative Council. Also, Hong Kong now had its own regional flag. Hong Kong now had to elect their own leaders. Things still kept after the handover. English was still taught as a subject. Some of the names of the roads are still kept. For example, Queen's Road. Some statues of monarchs and the Queen still remains.